Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners Workshop. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First thing on our agenda is the Colorado Department of Transportation plan presentation. And Tim, are you going to have this, or Tony, or Kevin?
Yeah, I'm going to go through it real quick,
Okay.
Jim. Let's see. Oh, great. It looks like I can share my screen now. Give me just a second.
And perfect.
Okay, you can see the, you guys can see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Well, hey, thanks guys for taking the time to meet with us today. You know, we try to have these county meetings once a year. Last year, we were in the middle of our planning process, so the presentation was really kind of process oriented, just so you guys would know where we were with the long range plan, 10-year plan, how you could contribute to that. This year, we're trying to keep the meeting. I mean, obviously, we can talk about whatever you guys have questions about, but our presentation at least is focused just on what we're doing in Montezuma County, what we have planned in Montezuma County, and long-range needs that have been identified in Montezuma County. Before I start going through it, make sure you guys are familiar with our team that's here today. For those that don't know me, I'm Tim Funk. I'm the planner for Southwest Colorado for CDOT. Let's see, other folks on the call today from CDOT. We've got Annie Altwerg. Annie is our transit and active transportation, kind of multimodal planning lead. My boss, Tony Katy, he's the planning environmental manager.
Good afternoon.
We've got Kevin Curry, who's our program engineer. David Payton is our traffic and safety resident engineer. And then Linda Morshauser, she's our planning admin. So Linda is who set up this meeting, and Linda will be sending a follow-up letter to you guys. You know, there's a good chance you guys will have some questions that we won't have the answers to all of them during this meeting, but we'll do what we need to do to find out those answers, and then get them in a follow-up letter to Linda to recap, so you guys have that for reference. But any questions? You guys ready for me to get into the presentation?
I think you can dive right into it, Tim.
All right, thanks. So we're going to start with the long-range plan projects. The presentation is kind of designed to go in order from, you know, long-range plan, that's things identified in the 2050 plan. It says draft. That's now, I think, actually is final as of a couple of days ago. The public comment period is over, and the Southwest TPR officially adopted it at the last TPR meeting. So some projects in Montezuma County that were identified for the priority listing in the long-range plan are the 160 and 491 intersection. That's on the west end of Cortez over there. So a new intersection with traffic signals could include closing Pinion Drive, relocating the existing intersection a little bit, could possibly require some property acquisition to do that. And it would be about a $20 million project, currently unfunded. So Commissioner Candelaria, you're familiar with this, but just so everyone else in the room knows, the long-range plan is kind of a wish list of things. So there's no funding attached to projects being on the long-range plan. So it doesn't mean that things won't ever get funded. Really, the first start is to identify it and get it on the long-range plan before we can get funding for it. The next one is some more sidewalks in the town of Mancos. We just finished a sidewalk project in the town of Mancos. This would be, the project we finished was on the west side of town. This would be on the east side of town. So taking the 160 business route to the east and adding some sidewalk to the end of the town limits. That'd be about a $3 million project, also unfunded. A couple more in Montezuma County. One is the intersection of 491 and Mike Wash Road. This is at the turn to Toyak. So this was a priority of the Ute Mountain Ute tribe. So they requested some intersection improvements at Mike Wash Road. We don't actually know, it would require a full intersection study to see what would be required. But we anticipate it would be about a $3 million project. Like I said, also, none of these projects have funding attached to them yet. And then the last unfunded one is this was also something brought forward by the Ute Mountain Ute tribe. And this would be the segment of 491 from the state line up to 160, with the idea of trying to get some passing lanes or potentially some slow vehicle turn pullouts, or at least some A-cell and D-cell lanes where at some of the intersections. That one would be pretty expensive. That'd be about a $30 million project. And then I guess there is one more long-range plan project that's unfunded. This would be for bus service between Durango and Dove Creek. We anticipate there would be stops. The exact route of this is undetermined, right? Whether it would go through Cortez or Dolores up to Dove Creek. But it would be about a $4 million project to get round trip. Folks in Dove Creek a lot of times need to make it to the hospital in Durango for medical visits. And right now there is no transit service that they can use for just round trip back and forth between Dove Creek and Durango. So a subset of the long-range plan projects then make it onto the next 10-year plan. And these do have strategic funds associated with them. So we're given our funding constraint that we anticipate in the region over the next 10 years, and the priority projects from the Southwest TPR long range plan, as we have money for, and a few asset projects. So highway surfacing projects are what we spend that money on. So the first one is wildlife mitigation on 160 between Cortez and Mancos. This would be a wildlife underpass. We now think the best location for this would be just east of Mesa Verde, and then also some wildlife fencing, some site improvements with brush removal and things like that. This would cost about $6 million, and we do have this funded. We do have 5.7 in the next 10-year plan. Unfortunately, it won't get that money until fiscal year 2031. So that would be July of 2030 is when we would be able to start working on that project. And then the next one, relatively close by, is the County Road 30.1. This is the entrance to Phil's World. An intersection that we know at least is perceived as dangerous. We don't have a lot of incidents, but I think we all know there's probably a lot of near misses that are happening there. So what we're thinking there would be to make sure we get some A-cell, D-cell lanes in and out of that intersection. And that would cost about $3 million. And we have $2.7 million in the next 10-year plan. That money will be available also starting in fiscal year 31. A couple more projects in the 10-year plan. One is Highway 145. So we're calling this the Dolores East project. This is basically in Montezuma County from Dolores on 145 going northeast. And this would be about $12 million. And we have about 10.4 of strategigic funds for resurfacing of this highway. Again, also available in fiscal year 2031. We have started designing this project. And then the last one is the Mancos Business Loop. This would be resurfacing of Highway 160 business route With frontage roads within the Mancos town limit, this would be about $2.5 million. And also that money would be available in fiscal year 2031. Let's see, another 10-year plan project is some Mustang Outrider stop improvements on the Durango to Grand Junction route. So right now we are working on a stop and shelter improvement in Cortez, Dolores, and Rico. And this would cost about $400,000. And this is carried over from the last 10-year plan. So this is currently in design. Hopefully we'll go out for advertisement in spring of 26, and then depending on the schedule we get back, these shelters would be constructed in either 26 or 27. So those were all of the strategic projects. So those are all projects that were identified by the TPR and the long range plan, and then, like you said, some of them we were able to fund with the 10-year plan money. In addition to those projects, we have a lot of things going on in Montezuma County where CDOT either provides state funds or the pass-through for federal funds directly to counties and municipalities. So the first one of those projects is the Cortez West 7th Street. This is funded by the Safe Routes to School program. This is a federally funded program where CDOT acts as the pass-through. This project is currently in design. It's going to cost about $1.2 million, and construction will be in 2027. The next one that the county is, I'm sure you guys are all very well aware of, is the Pass Mesa Verde project. So on the CDOT side, this has got multimodal transportation and mitigation options fund, or the MMOF funds. And then most of the money is coming from Central Federal Lands through a FLAP grant. And then Montezuma County has put some money into the project. Darcy and the town of Mancos has some money in the project. And then we anticipate a GOCO grant for it. So costs per segment, it's an expensive project. Almost $10 million for A and C and D combined, and segment B is about $13 million project. So segment A is in design, segment B has been designed and shelved, and we're looking for the match for the to make sure we can get the complete match for that block grant is the current status of the project. So in addition to those local agency projects and the strategic projects, CDOT has money set aside specifically for different asset types. One of those funding types is bridge, and a project on the San Juan River just north of the state line on 160. That was a scour critical bridge. And then we also did the Aztec Creek Bridge further north. So those were at mile 0.8 and 8. So some scour repairs on those structures. That cost about $2.6 million. We finished those last year, 2024. Another project we finished in 2024 were some chip seals. So if the highway needs some resurfacing, but it's not so bad yet that it needs to be completely repaved, we can extend the life by doing a chip seal. So this was a chip seal, sign replacements, pavement markings. We did 2 segments. The one in Montezuma County was on 160, basically from Mancos to Durango. And then we also did in La Plata County from Bayfield to Yellow Jacket Pass in the Archuleta side. That was about a $5.5 million project finished in 2024. Something that we try to do every year is a region-wide striping project. So for fiscal years 24 and 25, that was about $2 million. That was throughout the region. That was done throughout the region. Certainly some of the highways in Montezuma County were touched up. That was about a $2 million job. And then we finished sidewalks in Mancos on the west side of town. That was about a $3 million project of ADA ramp sidewalks. that says surface. That was actually a combination of ADA and MMOF and TAP grant, so that's inaccurate on the funding type. But that was finished earlier this summer. And then some asset projects that we're planning on doing in the near future. This one's actually in construction right now, so not really planned. It's actually under construction. We have several culverts throughout the region where we've identified we can extend the life of them by installing a cure-in-place liner. So this is a UV, or it's basically a plastic liner that we cure with UV radiation. Several culverts on 491. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 culverts on 491 in Montezuma County got that treatment. And then it looks like 3 on 145, also in Montezuma County, got that treatment. And luckily, the way that work is done is all the work is on the side, on the culvert inlet and outlet, so we typically don't have to do much closure of the highway. So hopefully there was not a lot of construction closures or delays for the traveling public with those. One that is designed and scheduled for construction next year is some signals in Cortez. This would be at the intersections of Mildred and Harrison. So this would replace and upgrade the existing signals there. It's about $2.5 million project, and it's in design and construction plan for 2026. We also have some money from the freight program that we were able to get in the region for chain station installation. So on 491, we're looking at doing, one of them is in Dolores County near the state line, but then one is in Montezuma County near the community of Yellow Jacket. We would have an eastbound and a westbound chain station. So this would allow for freight vehicles to pull in, chain up in the winter. We're right. I think you guys have probably seen the VMS boards that all the commercial vehicles have to carry chains now for pretty much all of spring, winter, and fall. And if we're going to be requiring them to carry the chains, we need to provide safe places for them to get those chains on and off, and that's what this is for. So we anticipate construction probably in 27 or 28 for this project. It's about $3 million. And then there's another signal project tentatively scheduled for 2028, where we remove a signal at Maple, install a new one at Linden, and then upgrade the signals at Market. I'm saying that. Hopefully those are all correct. This is signal funding. These are in design. Will cost about $3 million. Yeah, we anticipate construction in 28. We also have a culvert project at Denny Lake. So the culvert that goes that's from into Denny Lake, right at 160 in Cortez. It's a complicated structure. We don't know exactly how much it's going to cost yet, but we're hoping we can get some culvert funding. This is at mile marker about 40.6 to line that culvert. And then a separate culvert project where we are replacing and rehabbing multiple culverts throughout the region. This is a project that we hope to go out to add in this November and construct next spring. It's about $7 million. And this will replace or rehab several culverts in Montezuma County. There will be 2 on 160, 1 on 184, and 2 on Highway 41 on the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation. And then kind of the last types of work that we do would be our maintenance crews. So they can work on projects and I think a lot of these numbers are, but I think they can do work up to $250,000 of resurfacing for us. So they'll pick a bad spot here or there that really needs to be done. And if it's over that amount, up to 350, they can get approval from the Transportation Commission. But anything over that, we're legally required to take out to bid. So these guys are kind of limited on how much they can do at a time because the project size has to fit within that budget type. But there was some repaving that was finished in the fiscal year 25. So we're currently in state fiscal year 26 as of July 1st. The first one was on 145, about a mile of repaving, cost about $100,000. Another, about a half mile of repaving on 160, from mile marker 27.3 to 27.7. And then we did some repaving on 491. That's actually really the same segment. I guess some of it was allotted to, the 160 side, so it was allotted to the 491 side, but really it's the same segment. And then Highway 184, from 21 to 23, from 21 to 24, we can usually do a few more miles if it's a chip seal, so that's what was done there. And then also 13 to 17 on 184 was another chip seal project, and those were both completed in fiscal year 24. And then this graphic is kind of a snapshot of what our maintenance guys spend in the typical. This was from fiscal year 25, so that since that ended at the end of June, our maintenance crews spent about $2.7 million in Montezuma County. A lot of that was, the surface treatment that we were describing. Another big part of it, the biggest part was the traffic services. That's replacing signs, signals, striping, things like that. The surface treatment is the next biggest. That's those resurfacing, the chip seals, the repaving. Earthwork, that would be cleaning out our drainage ditches, working on the embankment. A lot of the cleanup is, some of it's wildlife carcasses and litter, but a lot of it is rocks that fall on the highway. So like that 145 section north of Dolores in Montezuma County gets a lot of rock fall, and our guys are constantly going up there to clean the rocks off the highway through there. And then right-of-way maintenance, that's a lot of the vegetation maintenance. So that's spraying weeds, trimming back trees and brush for line of sight, things like that. So that's basically what we've done in Montezuma County recently, and what we think we'll be working on in Montezuma County. But really the main point of these meetings is just to get with you guys and discuss your concerns. So that's what we wanted to allow the rest of the time for. So with that, I'll turn it over. Any questions you guys have on the presentation, or just general things you'd like to discuss?
I have a few questions, Tim, and obviously I'm the representative, so I'll probably have more, but I'll work from where you ended and work backwards. So trees in line of sight, that's kind of a big concern, and I hear it. Obviously I have my own trucks and in the trucking industry, but there are a couple trees on 184 as you come out of Aspen Wallwood, and I've brought this up before several times, that are in CDOT's right of way that are an absolute obstruction for coming out of Aspen Wallwood to get on 184, because there's a corner to the, I guess it would be east or to the left, and those cars are coming at 65 miles an hour, and a truck comes on the road going 5 miles an hour, and it really creates an issue, because then you have another corner a quarter of a mile away, kind of to the northwest. So I think last year, and thank you guys for trimming that up a little bit, but is there any way that we can just get those trees there removed? Would that be a possibility? And I know you can't answer that now, but would that be a possibility?
Yeah, we'll look into it. I don't see why. I mean, we do remove trees that are, and I guess like you said, we tried trimming it back, and if that didn't work.
No, it helped.
Or it helped for a little bit, but it didn't solve the problem, huh?
Correct, because the tree is going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
But it's kind of an old cottonwood tree, and I'm not gonna say just cut down every tree in the world, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
when it comes to trees in line of sight, I think that one would be pretty critical with the traffic, specifically even our county that we have coming in and out of there to one of our gravel pits that we have up there.
Okay.
All
And
right,
do you think the tree is growing on our side of the right-of-way fence, at the base of it?
I'm pretty sure it's in your right of
Okay.
way.
Okay. Okay.
And I can take another drive up there, but,
We'll look into it, Jim, and let you know.
and that's just one of them. There are several up 145, which is where I'm gonna go toward
Okay.
the last. But the next one would be the shelter for the Mustang. Obviously, you'll have to comply with the city of Cortez, but just curious, is that gonna look like something at the Mustang stop in Telluride? Or do you guys have any kind of a vision for that, or do you know yet?
I think it's, and Andy's on the call, she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's just kind of a standard bench and shelter. We're working with the city of Cortez. It's gonna be on their property. And I think it's basically just like, you could just almost envision just your standard, like concrete pad, enough room for just one bench, and then a covered shelter. And then probably a sign, that has the routes and things like that.
Yeah, perfect. I was just curious if you had any vision for that we could actually view, but thank you for that. And then as far as you talked about this briefly, but the rockfall mitigation on 145, obviously you guys know that, when was the last time that we did rockfall mitigation on that highway? It seemed like our rain
It's been a
events.
couple of years. Yeah, we did a decent project. I don't know, time flies. Maybe 5 years ago. And we are still targeting 145. The reason we didn't bring up in this presentation is the next spot we're doing on 145 is up in San Miguel County. But 145 is on the radar of, so the rockfall program is managed, or the rockfall funds come from the geohazard program at headquarters. So they have, and it's not like we get a regional allotment of money. They kind of spend that on the, basically as the funds are available on the worst kind of first. And fortunately, they have identified 145, but right now it's on in San Miguel where we're going to be next. But I'll let them, if you guys have got some areas where you think you're seeing a bunch of stuff, let me, it doesn't hurt to, and I assume it's just that north of Dolores, that whole stretch, right? I mean,
It is the mile markers that I see probably the most impacted, and you guys have Jersey barriers there right now. I think it's about
Yeah.
like mile marker 19,
Okay.
right? I would say 17 to 20. There are several little curves right in there. It seems like the Jersey barriers, I think, do a pretty good job of keeping it mostly out, but again, it's just a question. Obviously, I understand.
yeah, no, it's good to know, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So I'll reach out to our geohazards program and just say, hey, are you guys familiar with this segment here, 17 to 20 on 145? Is there a plan to get to come back to this area anytime soon? And if there's not, I'll at least be able to report back to you that, in the immediate future, there's not, and that what we're doing just by catching it with the Jersey barriers is our short-term solution. But at least we'll let you know, Jim, when we're together.
Yeah, perfect. And like I said, thank you for the Jersey barriers there, because I think without those there, they'd probably be up there on a daily basis. So it does, slow it down significantly. So thank you for that. And then lastly, we have our design for our engineering done for 184 and 25 road. We're working with Bechtold, and hopefully we'll get that to you guys shortly, I guess, just to get our access permit, and then hopefully we'll get that intersection squared away with you all also.
Yeah, great.
And that's really all, Tim, that I have right now, unless.
Okay.
This is Kent, Lindsay. I have one question, and it relates to intersections. The removal of the signal at Maple and Main, that's a pretty heavily trafficked bus intersection that goes down to a middle school just a block south. The reasoning behind that removal, I don't understand.
Tim, I can talk on that if you
Yeah,
like.
thanks, David. I was just gonna cue you up.
Yeah, so we met with Cortez about this last year, the year before, and there was not really any objection or concern about that. Kind of what's going on right there is the actual state highway where the intersection is at Lindell and 160, there's no traffic signal there. But at the other location, there is a traffic signal, and it makes absolutely no sense. Basically, truckers and tourists that are coming through, they go to the stop sign, they wait forever to turn left to get on 160. Us locals, we know you go over the signal and then you can turn left. This is still far out. We have a lot of steps before we can officially actually do this scope and just basically move that signal over. We've got quite a lot of public input that has to go into this before we can actually say we are doing it. So there's a whole federal guideline that we are familiarizing ourselves with and starting to work through. And as a matter of fact, this week we're meeting with our public relations people to start to develop a plan.
Okay. And all of those signals that you're remodeling and replacing, are they going to contain plate readers?
As far as I know, none of our signals have plate readers. We are not installing those. The plate readers are installed by local municipalities, but through the permitting process.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys, I don't think we have any other questions. Thank you for the presentation, and if you don't have anything else, then I guess we're good. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Yeah, Tim, you've got my contact info, so anything comes up out of this meeting anytime, just reach out.
You bet. Thanks, guys, and thank you for being
Okay.
responsive, Tim, Tony, all you guys, Kevin, all the time. I get your emails back pretty promptly, and I do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Good deal. Well, thanks, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Have a good day. Next up, we have a virtual conversation with Congressman Hurd's office. Are they on the line? Okay. Well, let me know when they get on, and then we'll kind of just go back to it. Our department head meetings or our updates, first of all, social services. Come on down. I wish you were in our Coffee with the County this morning. At least you thought about us.
I did.
Oh, I do get this. Oh, yeah, I do get signed. But that's for tomorrow. Okay.
I got two. I think, no, I got, oh, okay. All right. Good.
All right. Go ahead.
Those are our expenses for the month of September for the department, which also includes MoCo and transportation. Nothing out of the ordinary on any of the expenses. It's been a busy few weeks. We did have our management evaluation from HICPUF last week. That consisted of reviewing 13 different modules. They requested a few more documents, but really it went very smoothly. I was very impressed with how we performed. I don't suspect that there'll be anything that's not cured by the time that it lands in your lap. We've been really busy in child welfare. I'm sure Stephen's indicated that we have lots of litigation this month and next. So we've been really busy. We, as you know, SNAP is on hold. So we are fielding calls, working with all of our local food providers, pantry, We composed a brand-new list of updated food resources for community members and continue to answer questions from those that are recipients of SNAP benefits. So I think the first week of November will really give us a good idea of what, if any, additional actions need to be taken as far as community.
And we did hand out a list of those resources this morning to the individuals that were here at Coffee with the County, so hopefully they'll pass it along to anybody that's in need. So we did try to get that message out this morning also.
Yeah, and I think the community has stepped together. We are the department hosts a meeting every Wednesday with all of our food providers, really to collaborate, understand what's happening in their doors, what questions are coming up, assessing needs. I've been in contact with the school district to ensure that kids aren't coming to school on Mondays hungry, so we'll just continue to monitor that and meet weekly with all those providers, which helps create that streamlined communications, sharing the same message with the community. So that's helpful.
I've noticed smaller convenience stores, even larger convenience stores, putting up signs that say no SNAP, no EBT.
Yeah, that's one of the concerns that we continue to hear about. So folks can roll over their SNAP benefits from month to month, and often folks do, particularly for food month holidays like November. We have heard in other states that retailers are not accepting EBT cards. We've heard of very few in the state of Colorado that are not accepting EBT cards, but Food and Nutrition Services, the feds, recently sent out an email to retailers saying that they can, in fact, continue to take those EBT cards. And as you know, retailers ultimately will make a choice whether they will or won't, which is too bad. Last time we talked, I let you know I was going to Mancos. I did go to the city of Mancos. I had a really great conversation with them about senior services, and they have approved $15,000 towards senior services, specifically the Mancos site, which is really great. It's conditional on no other emergencies happening. So we look forward to that and appreciate their partnership and collaboration to continue those services. I'm in Dolores tonight to talk to them with a very similar request. So things go. And I did put the senior services pie information out. Senior services and many of our volunteers and seniors have been working really hard to make 800 pounds of apples into wonderful, beautiful apple pies for their apple pie fundraiser. We did test it out. They are quite delicious. They get the approval. So we'll see how that turns out in November. Those will be ready the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so folks can order those and have one less pie to bake for their holiday.
And we also passed that flyer out this morning, too.
Great.
So hopefully we're getting the message out to help you with that. So I will call and make my order for at least one pie.
Great.
It'll be the cheapest pie I've ever bought from anywhere else. Usually they cost me a minimum of $125.
I'm
So-
happy to auction this pie to you. Certainly, we can make it a whole
Well,
thing.
I'm sure you would.
Are you gonna put this in your freezer, then donate it to another auction?
No. It'll get donated to Thanksgiving,
There's
which is
a-
what it's supposed to do. So
Just for you, Commissioner, there is a 4-order pie order minimum.
just for me.
It's a special bargain just for you, sir.
Well, golly, look at that. Okay, well, put me down for my 4.
I will.
All right. Thank you.
But that's it. All the rest is business as usual. We keep trucking. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you. This was a question that came up in our conversation this morning. And I know that you went over it, but maybe you should go over it again. So in the journal article, and I don't have it in front of me, but they basically, there was a statement in there that said that you stated, which I think you did, that working through some of these other guidelines that we have to comply with from annually to semi-annually, that it would basically double the staff. So can you elaborate on that a little bit better?
Yes.
Reclassification of Medicaid.
Yeah.
Yes, so
So-
I will clarify. My direct statement, I think the last time we met, was that the implications from the big beautiful bill, HR1, will increase workload for staff. Much of that is around Medicaid, and we have a large Medicaid load, but to be extremely clear, parts of that legislation require those individuals that were a part of the Affordable Health Care Expansion Medicaid, that act, those folks, we will be required to recertify their Medicaid enrollment every 6 months instead of annually. And so that is not as large of a lift as everybody enrolled in Medicaid or Health First Colorado in Montezuma County, but it is a heavy lift. I think the last stats that I saw were about 3,400 individuals in Montezuma County that would fall in that category. And so that means their eligibility technicians will be recertifying them every 6 months versus every 12 months. And that is a big lift for the size of our county.
So,
And-
I mean, basically goes from 3,400 a year to 6,800 a year that you have to do now.
For just that one category,
one
yes.
section.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you. I was actually gonna try and call on you this morning. I'm like, I don't know what she's up to, so.
I almost popped down. I was like, maybe I should be there. I was worried about I had called Travis about your evening one. I was like, should I be there? People might have questions. And then I called Travis and said, here's all the things that you should know. So,
And he's gone.
I know. Well, that was for last week's.
He's gone fishing
He's hunting.
or something. Sleeping.
But I was concerned and certainly could have been available if you needed it. So know that for the future.
Anyway, thanks. I appreciate it for the clarification right now. I don't have anything else.
I plan to stick around
How
for
come-
herds.
How come in the month of May it was 2,196,000 for food stamps?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So in the month of May, they released summer EBT benefits. And so those are benefits that folks who receive SNAP get for summer food for children when they're not in school. So it's an additional amount of money because when kids are in school, they get breakfast and lunch for free. And so that's part of what the state did to help tide those low-income families over those summer months.
It seemed like a lot.
Yeah, I think it was
That's-
$60 per child per month. And so they got it all
At
in
one
that,
time.
in May, yeah.
Okay.
It is a lot.
Makes sense. I just
It
couldn't.
is a lot.
I didn't. On your past reports, was that on there at that much?
Yeah, I remember we talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
Because it was such a large number, I wanted you all to be aware that things had not doubled.
It was almost tripled.
Yeah.
Not doubled, it was almost tripled.
Tripled.
If my math serves me correctly.
Social worker at heart. No math here. So,
All right,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, natural resources and noxious weeds. You get them both, James. So come on down.
You gentlemen,
Good afternoon.
I'll start off with the natural resources report. The first thing is we're well within budget on that. So, then to kind of go over some of the things we've been working on, I'm still participating in the Dolores Watersheds Collaborative. Right now, some of the things we're working on is finalizing the Watershed Wildfire Ready Action Plan, the WRAP. We're at about the midpoint on that. Right now, we're scheduled to meet on November 17th to review the hydrologic and hydraulic modeling results. And that'll mark the completion of the post-fire hazard analysis portion of that project. Once we addressed any comments from CWCB, then we'll be moving on to the susceptibility analysis and the planning phases for that. The group has also just recently been awarded almost $900,000 from Colorado Water Conservation Board for a planning grant, and that's focused on snowtography. And the purpose of that is really to do some modeling for application of our local snowtography data into design of implementation of experimental forest treatments in the Dolores Ranger District. And with that, we're just trying to advance some work to connect forest structure to snowpack retention and soil moisture. Also within that group, we're working on unauthorized travel routes. The Forest Service is planning to finally implement some of the travel management plan that was done several years ago for the Mancos-Cortez area. And so we're just trying to work through, we get some complaints about some of the travel routes out there. It's primarily focused on motorized use. A lot of it's in the Chicken Creek area. A lot of these roads were slated to be closed, but some of them never have been. So we'll be working through that and trying to give the Forest Service an idea how we're going to prioritize some of those routes. And I can tell you right now that's focused mainly on security areas for big game. So just looking at areas that are kind of as far away from roads as possible and try to expand those areas is really the focus of what's going on with that. That one always makes me a little nervous given some of the things that we've gone through in the past on that. So hopefully we'll avoid that this time. It's been a pretty low profile project at this point. But again, you never know what's going to happen, so we'll kind of keep monitoring that. Also working with the Montelores Coalition. Right now we've got a draft of the Outdoor Recreation and Conservation Plan pulled together, and that's got an associated action plan. We'll be planning to hold public meetings in November, beginning at least in November, to unveil the plan to the public and get feedback on those plans. We're looking for early win projects that we can work together collaborative on. Noxious weed control will be one of those, and so I'll continue to work with CWPP and the HPP program to see if we can line up funding and target areas for noxious weed control on that. Another one that's kind of on my mind, we've talked about recreational shooting, and that's virtually non-existent down on BLM lands now. And so there was some interest from the BLM in trying to find areas that would be appropriate for that. So that'll be something that I bring to that coalition, and we'll try to continue to find areas to help accommodate that. It's also becoming an issue up on the forest too. People used to go up to that gravel pit that's up there up in Boggy Draw. That's recently been closed, and so just trying to find appropriate places for people to go out and target practices. One thing I'd like to get in front of that group. Moving on.
We actually have our active mine going on there, so it really has to be closed. When we permitted that gravel pit 2 years ago, in cooperation with the Forest Service, we crushed our percentage of gravel per our contract for them, and then we're eligible to take 20,000 tons per year up to 100,000 tons per 5 years. So that pit is an active mine.
Right.
That's why the gates were put up, because we can't just have people going into an active mine.
Shooting our equipment.
Right.
So there's reasons for that, just so that the public knows, because that is an active gravel mine.
Right, yeah, that's right. And it's one of the ones we'll get to at the noxious weed report that we've been doing treatments up there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were aware of that. It's just an example of an area that's been used in the past, and it was actually a pretty safe area for shooting, and
It
maybe
is.
in the future that would be appropriate use for that area again. So. Okay, so Paz de Mesa Verde. We're still working, of course, to achieve the funding for segment C and D. I'll present to the GOCO Review Committee on November 6th. They've recommended partial funding for the project, so we'll continue to work with CDOT to see if we can address the remaining funding gap on that. For segment A, design work is proceeding. We're on track to be completed by the deadline. We've got work completed through the easement issues at Denny Lake Park. That took a little bit of effort to get through the city. And we're awaiting the CWP and the National Park Review so we can obtain the non-historic section 4F and section 6F clearances for the project. We've completed the hydraulic review, and we're awaiting the CDOT feedback on that. The environmental and cultural reviews are nearly complete, and we're also awaiting feedback on those. So our subconsultant, that'd be Goff Engineering and Surveying, they've completed the initial subsurface utilities engineering site inventory and quality level B services for the project. We're requesting service level A on that so we can really identify more accurately where all those structures are at. That work will trigger a CDOT utility work permit, and that can take 6 to 8 weeks to get in place. And so we're asking for CDOT's help in accelerating that. We'll see what happens on that. Continuing to meet with Mesa Verde Country. They have a partners meeting every month, so I continue to participate in that as much as possible. As far as floodplain development goes, we've got one enforcement action that's underway. We had an individual that came in 2018, and they presented a pre-construction plan when I gave them a notice to proceed on that, but they didn't construct the project. So in the meantime, they sold the property, and then the new owner built in 2023, but did not come in to complete the certification to make sure everything's built to proper elevation. So we've contacted that owner. We've got an engineer out there looking at that. It does appear that that building has been built to the proper elevation, actually exceeded that elevation, but they still haven't got the certification done for the septic. So I'm still awaiting that, but we should be able to get that person into compliance here in short order. One of the future projects I'm looking at taking on at the beginning of the year would be to update our CWPP, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So I don't think that's going to be a lot of effort, but we do need to do the outreach on it. So what we'll plan to do, and I'll coordinate with Jim Spratlin on this. And one thing we'll have to do is go out to hold some community meetings. We'll look at doing about 5 areas, give or take. And we'll try to fold that watershed wildfire ready action plan that we're working on for the Dolores Water into that plan. And then we'll also try to fold in the new WUI state rules, and we'll just call those best management practices and try to cover it that way. At least we'll have something in a county document that illustrates some of the things we're trying to work towards. Okay, so I guess that covers it for natural resources. For the Noxious Weed Department, we've completed the CDA cost share for the year. We had about the same participation as we had last year. I've completed the final report. I've got everything ready to turn in. We've downloaded the data to EDD maps, and I'm waiting confirmation from them on that download to make sure all that data was correct, and then I'll turn in all that final reporting and the reimbursement request to CDA. Immediately, we'll begin working on the new CDA grant application for next year that comes out. It's being released on October 31st. So I'll start working on putting that grant application together. We'll also reach out to the CPW for the HPP funds again this year to see if we can get some supplemental funding for that program. We've met with the High Desert Conservation District, and so they want to take over the backpack sprayer program and just want to coordinate with us as best we can on doing the outreach to the public. So we'll continue to work with them, and they've got some capacity for reseeding and some information regarding the fire mitigation and stuff like that. Because really, when you go out and do some of the fire mitigation, doing the reseeding is an important part of that. So we'll try to coordinate with them as best we can on that portion of it. Let's see, we've transferred 12 backpack sprayers to the High Desert Conservation District, and we'll be buying 2 new ones for this year. Those backpack sprayers, they come with repair kits, but those darn things, after about a year's worth of use, they start getting gummed up pretty good. So our thought is we just kind of buy 2 new ones every year. They cost about $75, so they're pretty affordable. And that way we can transfer a couple of them off to the High Desert Conservation District to help support their program a little bit. And then we don't have to mess around with trying to fix those backpack sprayers every year. Russell has completed all the county properties this year with treatments, and he's doing the monitoring and follow-up treatments. We did assist the road department with about 3 acres up at the hay camp pit to try to get them moving along on that reclamation that they're doing. Russell is continuing to do the site visits and consults with as far as subdivisions and parcel splits, and also doing site visits and consults with homeowners when they request it. Russell is trying to experiment with some of the pre-emergence that we've got. And mainly this is going to be around some of the county road shops to try to get a handle on the Downey Brome and Kosha when it comes up. It's some of the stuff that's pretty bad. And again, it's experimental at this point, but we'll see which ones seem to be working pretty good on that. Russell will continue to be doing some maintenance on ATVs and spray rigs over the winter. And we'll be working on educational pamphlets for the upcoming year and trying to get those all revised and up to date. So, I guess that kind of completes the report on that. By the way, everything is within budget too on the noxious weed side of things.
We're gonna be able to request additional funds for the weed match, the spray match program, or is it?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
I mean, there's a lot of people that missed it that really wanted to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we'll work with CPW on that to see if we can tap into those HPP funds. And again, that'll be something I'd like to coordinate with High Desert Conservation District on that also. So if we can pull in a little bit more money from CPW, then we'll try to split that and see if we can't just coordinate together on that.
Great.
And by the way, that is what the that grant I'll be applying for in October is for. So, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you, James.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Maxwell, you are next. You can come on down too, Laurel. Elevating Prevention in Colorado, EPIC grant.
Yes, exactly.
Could you
So-
reach over and turn that other mic off? We don't do well in stereo.
Yes, so we are bringing to your attention this grant funding we are applying for, and it is called EPIC, Elevating Prevention in Colorado. It's actually fairly similar to the Communities That Care program that we used to have, but it's a little bit different now. They've renamed it. They've got some different sources of funding. It's a little more flexible, and it's more money. So, but its focus really is substance use prevention, community-wide, but also specifically engaging youth in that. And we are, as you may recall, we are working on that very issue, substance use prevention, as one of our two areas in our public health improvement plan. Keeps going in and out.
No, you just have to get really
Okay,
close.
just get really
and then you're
comfortable with this.
really good.
Yeah, so that's what we're here to talk about. Any questions on that?
Commissioners?
How effective are we being? Are we making any headway?
Well, I mean, we don't have the funding yet, but we do have a coalition that's currently working on this called Healthy Montezuma. And we've kind of been sharing the responsibility between a few of us to keep this program going. But I think we would be a lot more effective with this funding because we would be able to have not only one full-time person on this, but two. And part of that one of those positions would be an evaluator position, so they could actually measure progress and how we're doing and like how many people we're engaging. And I don't know, is there anything you want to add about that? Okay.
No, I think that's key is the evaluator so that we can really see. I know that we're being invited to a lot more community outreach, and we're able to do a lot more educating and focused educating. We're going back into some of the schools. So that is headway after COVID. So.
Yeah, I guess that's always my question. Obviously, you know what I asked at our last public health meeting is, how do we evaluate? How do we know we're being effective, or are we just spending a lot of money? Because I want to see us being effective. And that's really the question is it doing any good, or do we need to change direction?
Yeah.
So.
And that would be an easier question to answer if we were in charge of everything that plays into making the difference. We're just a piece of that, but we do our best, and this position, or this grant does require at least a 0.5 evaluator. So that's progress.
Okay.
Yeah, and it'll be looking at things like how many outreach events we're attending, how many people were engaging in those things. And then we also want to do like pre and post surveys with the groups that we work with so that we can kind of look at those surveys as like an ongoing measure of progress. And like you said, if we need to change or pivot. The great thing about this too is we have support from, don't know what they call that person, but you get like a coach person at the state who can really help you set this up so that you're able to build in that evaluation as you go through and reassess it every year.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're also able to continue with some really strong partnerships. So we will be partnering with School Community Youth Coalition and Team Up. So, and then we'll have the health department and we'll have our Healthy Montezuma Coalition that stayed strong through this whole thing. So I feel like that's progress. We're out there with more people doing the same focused prevention effort.
This is a 5-year grant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have nothing else. Commissioner, do you have anything? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Lastly,
They're on, they just joined.
all right. Good afternoon, Congressman Hurd. Since you are on the line, I'm going to give you all the total focus to you right now. And again, good afternoon.
Thank you, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your willingness to let me join you virtually. I wish I could be with you in person, but it's great to connect with all of you. I wanted to note that on the line with us is Amy Huff, my Southwest Regional Director, who I know works closely with you and your fellow county commissioners in the southwest part of the county. I wanted to just reach out and connect. One of the things that I know I've been hearing from a number of my counties relates to the government shutdown, the federal government shutdown, and the anticipated expiration of the SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program benefits. I know this is something that affects every single one of the 27 counties in my district, and I know that it's an issue that you have been focused on as county commissioners and will be focused on as well. And so the primary reason for my reaching out to you and my staff's reaching out to you is just to make a connection with you, ensure that we have a line of communication open, to fill you in on what I know about this, the status of SNAP. The news right now is not great. It sounds like we will not be able to see these dollars flowing through, but I wanted to just make sure that we had an open line of communication, that you could hear from me and I could hear from you what your concerns are and what you're seeing on the ground, and see if there's any ways that we might be able to ensure that we minimize the disruptive impact of this. And my hope is that we can get the government open soon. And I am one of those Republicans. The House did do its job. We passed the bill. I voted for the continuation of SNAP benefits. And I want to just mostly make sure that we had this line of communication open. And I see Betsy Bear, my district director, is also on the line as well. With that, I'm just going to turn it over to you, commissioners. I would love to hear what you're hearing on the ground, the number of constituents that might be affected, our constituents that might be affected by this, and what the dollar amount is. And I'd love to hear what you're seeing and what plans you might have to help mitigate the effect of this funding lapse.
Well, it's the funding lapse, get the government open, which I realize is beyond your control. But, I think we all share the same mentality as like, we're all serving the people. Let's get out there and get going and get to work. But we do have our social services director here, Kelly Unrein, and I'm going to bring her down because she probably has, I'm sorry. Hargraves? I apologize dearly, but I already took 4. Anyway, and I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
Hello, sir. So in Montezuma County, we have 4,912 folks on SNAP benefits. We typically issue around 900,000 in SNAP benefits in Montezuma County. We really have, in the last week, pulled together all of our food providers, whether it's pantry items or hot meals, lunches, have pulled together. We are having weekly meetings to ensure that we're meeting the needs on the ground, seeing what's happening, and really trying to assess capacity of those organizations, both volunteer-wise, food-wise, and seeing what we can pull together. I can tell you that we are concerned that we won't have what our community needs. We're a food desert in the state of Colorado here in Montezuma County. You know, the last time that we had free and reduced lunch, you know, 66% of our students qualified. So we know we have some needs. Right now, we are definitely pulling together to meet those needs. And that's kind of where we're at. As far as the department, we certainly are fielding phone calls and walk-ins. Our SNAP recipients don't understand what's happening sometimes. And some of them, frankly, just aren't sure how they're going to get their needs met food-wise. People are sad. Mostly they're sad.
Well, what makes this frustrating for me as well is that this is completely unnecessary. We should, this is, there are circumstances that are outside of our control, and then there are circumstances that are within our control, and this is a failure of the federal government, specifically the United States Senate, to do its job and to keep the government open. This is a completely unnecessary, self-inflicted harm. Kelly, a couple questions. First, 4,912 on SNAP, is that individuals or households?
That is at the individual count.
Okay, how many households approximately? If you don't know the number, that's okay.
I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Okay. Can you tell me if, are you seeing, so SNAP is at play, is WIC or TANF, have you had any issues with those programs, or is it primarily a SNAP issue at this point?
Today, it's a SNAP issue. That is the most pressing issue. We do foresee impacts to WIC, Women, Infant, and Children program. And so those providers, like I said, all of the food providers, including WIC, which is facilitated through our health department, are attending those meetings so that we can problem solve all of those as they come along. At this point, TANF is not affected, and nor are any other assistance programs, cash assistance programs, and we don't foresee any impact unless the government continues to be shut down.
Okay. And Kelly, have you seen an increase in applications or emergency food assistance requests since the shutdown began earlier this month?
Yeah, so I have not seen any emergency requests for food. I can tell you that our local food pantries and providers are indicating an influx, so they have seen more folks walk into their door. Specifically, Good Samaritan Center, which is our food pantry for Cortez. They typically serve 2,000 folks a month, and they are seeing a higher frequency. I suspect that since last week to this week, when we meet on Wednesday, I'll have better numbers as far as what other pantries are also seeing.
And then are there particular populations, either seniors or single parents or young families, who are being hit the hardest? And if you don't have those demographic data, that's okay. I'm just curious, do you have a sense of what the demographic distribution among these 4,900 individuals is, as a general matter?
Generally, like as a generalization, we know that about 50% of those are children, 15% are elderly, and 10% are disabled. I believe that our elderly population will be hit the hardest for a variety of reasons, but a significant piece of that is the rural nature of our community and the accessibility of food pantry. So those folks that are living rural, that don't have transportation, that already have limited incomes or fixed incomes, will be impacted. And so we've run off the basis as a community that at a bare minimum, our food pantries and food providers will see a 25% increase over the coming weeks at a minimum.
Okay. How are communications being handled with the affected folks, to prevent confusion about, the suspension of these benefits? Is it social media? Is it direct outreach? Is it some combination of both?
Yeah, so it's a combination of both. Montezuma County did early on issue some information through our media outlet. We have worked with all of our food providers. Like I said, really the collaboration has been phenomenal in Montezuma County. That doesn't surprise me. That's how we roll here. But we have released FAQ out to the public and to providers. We have updated our food resource list, and we are handing that out to all providers, individuals that walk in our door. We are emailing it. We are talking about it at every meeting that I attend. And so it's word of mouth, it's newspaper, it's media. We're blasting it everywhere. And we continue to have people come in and call that still don't understand. And it's hard. It's hard for folks.
How about the faith communities, plural, in Montezuma County? Have you seen any engagement on their part or any interest in their part to help address this gap that's going to be coming up? Is there any way to activate the faith communities and see how they might assist on the food pantry front or on the donation front or otherwise?
Yeah, that's a really great question. We do, in fact, have a great relationship with our faith-based providers in the community. Some were in attendance last Wednesday. I asked that we engage all, so I suspect that many more will be here this coming Wednesday. In addition, qualitatively, I can tell you one of our local churches has a very small food pantry that they usually help provide food for about 12 families. This week, they provided food for 50, and that is their capacity. So they saw, 3 times the influx than they would typically.
Okay, and then we're getting towards the end of the month. Is that so? It's 3 times the amount that they'd otherwise have at this point in the month. Then.
Yes.
Okay, got it. What am I not asking that I should be asking?
I think you pretty well covered it all, the same kind of questions that we're asking or being asked. We had coffee with the county this morning. That was part of it. But here again, we passed out information on food pantries. If you wanted to donate, whether it's monetarily or food product itself, they actually have a list here in this county of where they can go to, the resources that are available. And I think that at this point in time, that's about all that we can do. It's kind of out of our purview at this point in time. I think
Right.
we're all kind of just hanging on.
Would it be beneficial, this is Kent, Congressman Hurd.
Hey, Commissioner.
Would it be beneficial if we sent letters to Senators Bennett and Hickenlooper urging them to sign on to get this going?
That would certainly not hurt at all to let them know that one of the concerns that you have is that this is one of the ways that the government shutdown is impacting our shared constituents in Montezuma County. Is if we have a clean funding resolution, which is what we've already passed out of the House, if the Senate could sign on to that, that would get this program up and running immediately again. That would certainly be helpful outreach. Even if it's not necessarily a letter would be terrific, but if it's direct outreach, that would also be very helpful. I will tell you one piece of information that I thought was interesting, which came out this morning, is that one of the largest federal government employee unions this morning asked the Senate Democrats to just sign on to the clean continuing resolution and reopen the government. That is on itself, or on its own, it's not sufficient, but that's a big sign that some of the folks that are most engaged on the other side of the aisle are understanding that this is not a productive way to advance policy by shutting down the government and demanding things in order to simply continue funding levels at rates that everyone has agreed to in the past. Whether or not that will translate into something soon enough, I'm not seeing that, but I will tell you it's significant that we have at least some movement on the Democratic side, that folks understand that this is not, shutting down the government in this way is not a productive exercise. And I will say that as a Republican and part of a party that has done this in the past as well, where we kind of wrote the book on shutting down the government over not getting what we wanted, and it never worked back then. And I don't think that it's a useful exercise for our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to be doing it now. So I didn't mean to get too political there, but I do think it would be useful to reach out to our senators. They are two of the senators that have voted against reopening the government, I believe now 12 times. And I say that as somebody that's committed to working on the healthcare issues that I know they're talking about. I am on a bill that would extend the enhanced premium tax credits. I'm about ready to get on a bill that would extend SNAP benefits even when the government is closed. I'm also not taking pay. I'm not taking my congressionally my allotted pay while while the government's shut down. I'm not going to get paid until everyone else is getting paid. So I'm trying to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk as well. And I understand, though, that there are folks in Montezuma County that really don't have a loud voice that are going to be hurt by this. And letting folks in Washington know and our senators know would be a helpful thing, Kent.
Thank you. Also, one other concern that I haven't heard echoed anywhere, and maybe I'm out there in left field where I am sometimes. During COVID, we watched inventories at grocery stores stretch and then become really abundant. With digital ordering and consumer products inside these grocery stores, their inventories are going to see a big decline in orders, and they're going to stock to meet that. And then the computers are going to see not being able to bring those items to the store. You won't see them, and then all of a sudden, this turns back on, and there's going to be a shortage, and we're going to have to deal with that.
That is a great point. I had not thought of that, but this kind of the rubber band effect that we saw during
Yes.
COVID. I think that's what you're describing there, and
Yes.
that is a great point. I hope and trust that our grocery supply chain will be taking that into account and that they're watching this closely. And you are exactly right. They need to be anticipating the logistics of ensuring that once the government is back open again, hopefully sooner rather than later, that we are ready and able to account for that, the need to have supplies on the shelves and not have to deal with the shortages, because that would only make it worse. That is a very good point. I had not considered that, but you're describing something that I think people need to keep top of mind.
Thank you.
Anything, Commissioner Copeland?
No, I think Kent's right. I think you're going to see that, because even our grocery stores here, where we have 3 of them, you take $900,000 out of their inventory, basically it's what's happening with the SNAP benefits in 1 month's time. They're going to change their supply. And to get that back may take a while. So all of those things are going to come into effect. It's not just going to restock.
Commissioners, can I ask, have you seen any other effects, federal government shutdown related, that I need to be aware of, or that Betsy or Amy need to be considering when we're talking about this with our Senate colleagues and understanding what's going on? Are there, SNAP obviously is a big deal. Are there other programs or services that are being interrupted that have come to your attention?
Well, the Montezuma Valley Irrigation Company, we have 2 Water Smart grants that we're trying to get those projects moving forward, and until they reopen and get them finished, we've basically got all the right-of-way work done and all the work done to do the projects, but we can't do them until they reopen and actually finish the final paperwork on those projects. So they're just sitting there. Other people have complained because of the FSA being shut down that they're not able to put in for the rain insurance and that sort of projects too, that I've heard about, that they've contacted me about. So there is other things happening out there that it's stressing people as to get their projects done and get get organized because they got a deadline to be in by the 1st of December on some of those things, and they're worried it's not gonna happen.
Thanks, Commissioner Copenhaver. The FSA point is a very good one. I know from talking with your counterparts up in Rio Blanco County that this is also a stressor for them in the northwest part of the state, given and some of the fire issues that you may have seen also in Montezuma County and Dolores County as well, with the FSA not being able to assist with mitigation efforts and addressing the effects of the floodwaters that are coming with the precipitation that we're seeing in the burn scar areas. That is something that is top of mind. I will tell you, I spoke with Jerry Sonnenberg, who's the head of FSA here in Colorado, and this was earlier in the shutdown, and told him this is something that is extremely important for my constituents, and he understands that and says that they will be ready when the government opens up to do the work they're going to be doing, but he worries, like I do, that we're missing out on time here that we're not going to be able to get back, and that could result in damages that would not otherwise be incurred. So, and trying to figure out how to give guidance to our ranchers and our producers who are struggling to protect their property, and they're not sure if they're going to be getting reimbursed or if they're jeopardizing their reimbursement from doing what needs to be done. My commitment to you all is I will work my absolute hardest to make sure that any mitigation that is done, that will not disqualify anyone from any FSA funding they would otherwise get. So that's top of mind for me as well. I appreciate you raising it, and know that it's something that other commissioners around the district are dealing with as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Congressman, is FEMA functioning or are they shut down?
FEMA is, Betsy, what have you heard from FEMA?
So,
Can't hear you.
we have heard that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can now.
Okay, sorry. FEMA, we have heard mixed. When we've reached out, we have not gotten good response right now. And we're hearing from other counties, this is just from other counties who have had a lot of disaster, that what they are hearing at a higher level also is that FEMA is taking 2 to 3 months to even look at disaster areas. So it's taking much longer than normal. Normally they would come in right during a disaster, and that's also what we're hearing in Washington, D.C., that they're examining each disaster to determine if they've been spending too much money in the past, and they don't want to do that. So the small amount that they are open right now, they are not working as efficiently as they traditionally do, so it's creating a long lag time.
That's my understanding as well, commissioners. Obviously, you're talking to 3 people that aren't getting paid either, but we're still at work. Amy and Betsy are not taking any salary right now, and I've asked them to stay as I think, essential employees and delivering services to our district. I know FEMA, there may be some employees that are furloughed or that are not working right now, but I would anticipate that overall, at least on the front lines for the most critical ones, that they would continue to work, but there will be some slowness and sluggishness, as Betsy mentioned. This is not a way to. It's frustrating for sure.
I'm just wondering, because I looked at Melissa this morning, and if she'd have made a left-hand turn instead of a right-hand turn, she'd have been on top of Florida by now.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, she's over Jamaica at the moment. That's right. Well, here's the other thing too, Commissioner, flood insurance.
Yeah.
Those policies are not being issued right now,
Right.
and so you cannot get flood insurance. Obviously, that's less of an issue here in our part of the country, but flood insurance is a big deal on the coast, and the government being shut down is hurting people on the coast as well when it comes to that flood insurance, and it's creating a real risk and a liability risk that it's not going to be recoverable if we don't address it soon. So that's you're right. We are a right turn or a left turn away from disaster on the hurricane front, but also there could very well be something that we're not anticipating at the moment that could come up suddenly, and we're going to be caught flat-footed with a government that's shut down. And that is another reason why I would certainly encourage you to respectfully and diplomatically reach out to our senators, encourage them to get the government back open again, and know that there are Republicans like myself who are ready, willing, and able to work on the healthcare challenges and economics challenges that that I know we need to tackle together.
Thank you.
All right, it looks like
Okay.
we've asked everything that we need to ask at this point in time. Thank you, Betsy, Amy, and specifically Congressman Hurd. Again, it's always good to hear from you guys, and I do appreciate your time and your efforts, specifically with this government shutdown. Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners. It's great having such terrific partners in Montezuma County, and know that we stand ready, willing, and able to assist in anything. And I'm grateful for your partnership and the great work that you're doing on behalf of our shared constituents. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like a resolution, I'll put this up to you for Senate Bill 2405, Stephen, for the prohibition against the turf to conserve water.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Jim. So this is a resolution I put together. I mentioned, I think just last week, that there are still a couple more different bills that were adopted by our state legislature over the last year or two that have a kind of a compliance deadline coming up at the end of the year. So this is one of them, the Senate Bill 24005. Essentially, what it did is it made it, I'll say illegal, but not allowed to use, they call it non-functional turf, but it's basically like kind of like ornamental lawn. So I would characterize it in commercial spaces or like parking lots throughout the state. And so what kind of the way they structured the bill, they really put a requirement in there that local governments also codify it, basically. There's not really like an enforcement obligation from my perspective, but the idea is the state wants counties and towns to have something on the books so that when there are, land development applications out in the county for different things, that somewhere along the line they're reminded that they're not supposed to be using water to support, really what is just grass to look at from the perspective of the legislature here. And so that's really what this proposed resolution is. I really, didn't add too much to it. Kind of a check in the box on this requirement from the legislature to get this resolution on the books here at the county level to adopt this prohibition on non-functional turf, artificial turf, and invasive plant species in accordance with the bill. I'm happy to ask to answer any questions the board might have about this, if there are any. But
I don't have any. This came up in our coffee with the county. Basically, I was sitting at the table when this legislation was passed. Again, like Commissioner Kopenhoofer says, if we're going to conserve water, let's conserve acre feet of water, and let's not worry about a couple hundred gallons of water. Although it does work for conservation, but this is just opt-in, opt-out. So I don't have any questions at all.
Why would you ban artificial turf? If you're gonna save water, put in artificial turf. It doesn't take any water.
I'll pull up the bill because there was
It's non-functional turf for, like I expressed it this morning,
Yeah.
like in a parking lot for commercial,
But it
for
says,
commercial
it
property.
says artificial turf.
Yeah, that was within the scope of the bill. Let me see if I can pull that up.
I know, it was in the bill too, the same way.
Yeah, this
And
makes no sense.
We questioned about that then,
Yeah.
about why would you ban the artificial turf?
My second question is, who's going to monitor this? Who's going to enforce this?
Other than it's just
It's
by
just
opting
pass a
out,
bill.
we just opt out, and then that way we've done what we have to do, and then there should be no mechanism for them to ever come back and say, well, you guys didn't do this.
I don't
We
see, I don't see us opting out. How do we opt out?
I think that's what this resolution states, isn't it?
Well, so this-
Yeah.
So the resolution that I proposed here, Commissioners, is a resolution to adopt the requirements of the bill, basically, that
Oh.
Montezuma County would be adopting this prohibition on non-functional turf in accordance with the bill. If the board wanted to opt out, I could prepare a different resolution. On this issue, I just prepared the one resolution so far. In talking with planning, like very transparently, there's been no discussion of us doing any like enforcement of this basically. But this is something that the legislature has adopted. So whether or not we adopt it doesn't really change whether people could do it or not. But the legislature does want counties to have something like this on the books, essentially, is why we're bringing this before the board.
I would,
Our commercial properties in our county that are what? Very few.
yeah. But the city requires so much landscaping per,
But it's a different jurisdiction, so it's
Yeah.
just a matter of what do we do within our jurisdiction.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the city does.
I can guarantee you this will be brought before us to enforce this if we pass this thing. Because between two different landowners, it will come to us to enforce this.
I thought there was
I
more of an
guarantee you it will.
opt-out.
I would rather see a resolution to opt out than I would this. I'm sorry.
Well, I can draft something up for the board's consideration tomorrow. I think ultimately it's obviously up to the board. The staff thought here between Don Haley and myself was really that we didn't really see like an obligation to enforce it anywhere, right? That's like, it would be basically like a violation of the land use code. That we, depending on resources and our priorities, whether we would enforce it or not. But we thought it might be helpful to have it on the books just for consistency, basically. And Ken, to your comments about artificial turf, I just pulled up the bill. And the findings of the legislature included that artificial turf can cause negative environmental impacts, such as exacerbating heat island effects and releasing harmful chemicals. And then there's a list of some chemicals. So that's
So if we-
why the legislature
If we
included it.
save a median with black asphalt, it's not gonna create a heat effect?
That's not
This-
banned in the bill.
I would.
We just laid down how many cubic yards or how many tons of asphalt at an airport?
About 28,000.
Yeah.
I'm not
I'm
sure that
sorry,
we,
I just,
do we even have to do this resolution?
We have to opt in. If we don't opt out of it, then we're in it.
Well, let me go back to the
I
bill.
think, the way it's written, right?
Well, here again, it's like I said, this one enforcement.
I know,
Yeah,
but
we're not gonna
I'll
enforce
guarantee
it.
you what, though,
No, I get it.
we'll be sitting right here, and I'll guarantee you one
Oh,
neighbor
yeah.
will be against another one about this.
he planted a lawn, I dang it, and it's in your code.
So Commissioners, this is why, this section is why
Scroll back down, Jim.
Planning and I proposed this. And this should be in the packet too, Jim. I don't know how easy or difficult it would be to pull it up. It should just be called 2024A005 signed. Is that it? Is that document in there? Okay, well, I'll just read it then. It's,
Say put it in this other place, hang on. No.
okay, I'll just read it. This is straight from the bill, so this is going to be in Colorado Revised Statute 3799-103, prohibition on non-functional turf, artificial turf, and invasive plant species. Subpart 1, on or after January 1st, 2026, a local entity, which includes counties in this definition in this bill, shall not install, plant, or place, or allow any person to install, plant, or place any non-functional turf, artificial turf, or invasive plant species as part of a new development project or redevelopment project on any portion of applicable property within the local entity's jurisdiction. Subpart 2, on or before January 1st, 2026, a local entity shall enact or amend ordinances, resolutions, regulations, or other laws regulating new development projects and redevelopment projects on applicable property in accordance with the requirements of this section. So basically, that's why, we're bringing this before the board, is because the bill says local entities, are supposed to adopt something like this, basically. One other thing I'll say is that
I don't think we've ever, this is just basically saying that in a commercial property, that we don't allow turf that is not compliant with this Senate bill, which I don't think we have any landscaping priorities within the county land use code anyway.
we don't.
So it's not really, is it really changing anything that we currently have?
Well, as far as I'm aware, there's really no landscaping requirements in land use code. So this would be the first,
It would be now.
yeah, it would be then a ban on non-functional turf and artificial turf for these types of properties. So, county-owned property, and then also commercial, institutional, or industrial property.
Okay. We'll make a decision tomorrow. Good enough. Okay, moving right along. Now it looks like we have a conversation or an executive session for Rule 31. Is that correct?
Yes, so commissioners, I think we really need to be in a special meeting. So I would ask the commissioners to start a special meeting of the board for purposes of going to executive session. We do have some things to discuss that I believe fit this statutory section 24-64024E, and it's about Rule 31. So.
Okay.
I so move we go into a special session of the Board of County Commissioners of Montezuma County for the purpose of an executive session pursuant to Colorado CRS 24-6-4024E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for the purposes of an executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024E. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, included in that, I apologize, would be Commissioner Copenay for Candelaria Lindsay, Attorney Tarnowski, and
Clerk Kim Purcell. Yep. And then also Mel Jarman.
and Landfill Director Mel Jarman. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'd so move we come out of executive session and adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to exit executive session, and we have come to the end of our agenda and adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.